Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days. Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or Twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Whatever works best for y'all to hear or see the show, whichever your preference is, to be able to chime in to your, again, level of satisfaction there, or particularly participate, as we are going to be doing something right off the bat here, actually, on this show, as we do have Matt Olson throwing the gauntlet early with the yo, close enough anyway. I haven't figured out the good timing. Like, what is the difference between saying it and writing it? So that's as close of approximation as I think I can get with Mondo Moncada with just the yo. Appreciate y'all tuning in. However works best for you, whether it be on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or rocking on over on our various social media pages, including Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or Twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Again, whatever works best for you to, well, be able to be a part of this and hear and discuss the things going on and certainly affecting us here in the borderland. That's the right place for you to be as we continue those dual missions to have live local talk radio, because damn it, I think we deserve it, but also to talk about the things going on and affecting us right here in the borderland, because no one else is going to have that discussion, particularly as we do have things going on right here in our area, including a lot of reporting coming in, of course, over the weekend, but also into today about how a Texas National Guard member fires across the Rio Grande into Mexico and wounds a Mexican citizen. We'll have full discussion on that one, certainly, as there have been more cross-border and even a separate incident, another body pulled from the border in our region, but also on other crime issues. Do have downtown El Paso arrests being made in that suspected arson case at the Scottish Rite Temple, basically right at the gates of downtown, I do have to say, right next to the entrance here, but otherwise also in downtown. Not exactly crime, though some people are reacting like a county commissioner's court considering their next pay increase, but also the tax rate increase to come along with that. I know there was a lot of anticipation of it, so some initial reporting from our news partners at KFOX 14, and if anyone was there, we'd certainly love to hear from you that way. Though some other things going on, including no increases for, among other things, UTEP, but we'll discuss that fully. So a lot of stuff going on, swirling and happening in and around the borderland, but we're going to start off with something a little bit different right here at the start of the show. So we often open up those phone lines a little bit later in the program, but we're actually going to go ahead and open them up right now, because we are going to being specifically having a contest right at the start of the show here. So, of course, I've been talking a bit about the partnership and the, of course, new official hair and beard sponsors of the show that we have with, of course, the great sponsors over at with their particularly all their different options like Club Lux, the member services, and all of that with Hammer and Nail grooming for guys. So if you've been listening to me talk about it, and you may have even gotten a hint of it right before we got to the start of the show here, if you were listening very closely, there are hair and beard sponsors, and we do have giveaways from them. So we're going to be giving away a $100 gift card to Hammer and Nails to be able to get your own services, but you do have to be able to call into that line right now. I can be running that through at least until we get that next winner. So if y'all want to try calling in right now, you have the ability to do so. The number to do so is, of course, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM, just for the giveaway purposes. We'll get into the regular discussion phone calls later in the show, as we usually do. And the question you have to answer in order to be able to win is, where is Hammer and Nails in El Paso? I've mentioned it a bunch. So if you've been paying a little bit of attention, you should have picked that up here. And also, it might just be ever so easily Googleable, but you got to be a fast finger on that one. So again, call 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM for that giveaway for our, again, official hair and beard sponsors of the show, Hammer and Nail Grooming for Guys. So that'll be the giveaway happening going on until we get that first winner. So be fast on that number again, 915-544-5876. So we'll keep mentioning that until we get that winner, because trying something different with the giveaways and an incentive to turn in right at the start of the show, because we will be doing these recurring on. And a few other comments coming in, including RJ saying the new DMZ at the Rio Bravo. What's next? Very dim view of that issue. Ida Beza Gardner with a high in the wave. Thank you for chiming in there. And Anil Roweda saying, happy Medal of Honor Monday. You know what? I do know that it was, I didn't know it was the exact, I knew it was coming up because we've had some interest for some of our other programming and questions about Medal of Honor, because we do have a number of Medal of Honor winners from El Paso that might be developed. Working on for us again some of our other more specific programming, certainly. But let's dive straight into some of those issues and some of the main things going on and being talked about here. And Montalban kind of saying they must be located next to a hardware store. You'd think so, but no, they're in the I'm trying to think of a not unkind way to put this. I mean, it's not about tools, it's about making you look good. Let's just put it that way. In any case, and no, there is no necessarily hardware involved in the working on the face or other things. And Anho Royd is saying, could have used a beard trim. Don't worry, this is not the first. Well, this is the first giveaway we're going, but this won't be the only giveaway we'll be doing from them. So stay tuned, because I mean, as official hair and beard sponsor of the show, they want to spread the good word, so we'll keep talking about that. But let's dive straight into the issues and what we got going on right in our area, and this one indeed happening right in our area. Much of the focus, particularly on those state-level efforts coming from Governor Greg Abbott's here in Texas. Operation Lone Star has been in other sectors of it, including that visit happening with a number of other state governors to the other parts of the border, particularly, the Del Rio, Eagle Pass, where they've got water in the Rio Grande and have the floating barriers. I mean, we've got some, particularly since I still think we're in the water release period, aren't we? And so, but it's not deep enough to allow for that. So again, from our news partners at KFOX 14, including reporting by the Texas Tribune and Military Times, Texas National Guard member fires across Rio Grande, wounds Mexican citizen. Specifically happening at the end, I believe Saturday night, again, according to the Texas Military Department, and also reporting by Mexican news outlets. A 37-year-old Mexican man in Ciudad Juarez was injured. And so part of the, again, the Texas Military Department statement on this says, quote, on the night of the 26th August, a National Guard service member assigned to Operation Lone Star discharged a weapon in a border-related incident. The incident is under investigation. More information will be made available as the investigation progresses. And the statement from DPS, specifically against state troopers who have also been participating in this, saying, quote, on the evening of August 26th, Texas Department of Public Safety troopers responded to a call of a shooting involving a National Guard soldier along the Texas-Mexico border in West Texas. The incident is now under investigation by Texas Rangers, and no additional information is available at this time. But there has been other reporting going on in and around our region, of course, on that. Specifically, El Diario, as noted, again, by some of this reporting, a Spanish-language newspaper in Juarez, as many may be familiar in our area, that it was Darwin Jose Garcia of the southern Mexican state of Veracruz was practicing a sport on the Mexican side of the Rio Grande around 8:50 p.m. Saturday when a group of migrants were crossing the river. Garcia said that he then heard shots and realized he had been shot in the leg, again, according to El Diario de Juarez is reporting on that specifically. And so goes on to, and again, with not much more information coming out officially, still some questions remaining on there. But some further notes, including other incidents happening in other parts of the Rio Grande Valley on this. So there have been, of course, many calls to investigate, and that will continue on. But I will say that the focus on this area and what has been the response there, because as much as it hasn't been, again, the top of line and really much the national focus much recently on the border security and immigration issues that we do continually experience in our region of the area, there is, well, I'm sure there'll be a lot of focus on this particular incident and this particular issue. So we'll talk of course, a lot more about that as it comes up here, but already do for that first break of this hour right now. So if you want to, again, we got that contest going here. We'll check on the status of here as of this break, but coming out of this break, talking a lot more about the other things going on and certainly affecting us here in the borderland, including, a whole lot more going on involving the border itself and other crimes being investigated in the borderland region, including an arrest in that arson case in downtown El Paso, suspected arson technically, but we'll talk further about that. So stay tuned. More on Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Back with this and give me the status. I think we may have a winner, so we'll talk about that right after this break. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
That earlier crash on South Desert Boulevard at North Mesa has cleared. All lanes are back open. A crash on Gateway West at Loma Land. A stalled semi is blocking the right lane on Gateway West at Airway. And just a heads up, I-10 westbound at Trans Mountain, that exit 6, still closed for the rest of this week due to road work. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com.
Want to save big on custom faux wood blinds, shutters, cellular shades, and more? Shop Blindster today and save up to 50% over comparable blinds from brick-and-mortar stores. Get custom blinds at low prices and free shipping at blindster.com.
Protection for all, peace of mind for you. For over 40 years, Mazer Security Alarms has proudly served El Paso with superior service and protection. Locally owned and operated, Mazer Security Alarms created Super Switch technology to prevent false alarms and keep your business and family safe. You can afford the best. For your free quote or to upgrade your existing system, call Mazer Security Alarms at 915-590-0033. That's 915-590-0033. Mazer Security Alarms.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
Good news, El Paso. The WorkSafe Texas Summit is coming, and it's absolutely free. You don't want to miss this exciting opportunity to get important information that can help you protect your workers. Texas Mutual Insurance Company's innovative safety event features panel discussions, safety materials, and more. It's free, it's informative, and we're even providing breakfast. So join us from 8 to 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday, September 19th at the Hotel Paso del Norte. Register at texasmutual.com/summit.
Hey, it's Jesse Kelly. When a restaurant closes, my reaction is, that sucks. They had good steak. When regional banks close or 3 of them close overnight, it freaks me out. This is why I have my own personal gold reserve. It's part of my personal protection plan. Call my friends at Oxford Gold Group. Call 833-404-GOLD. 833-404-GOLD. That's 833-404-GOLD.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and whatever, just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk, and happy to announce we do have our winner. So if you all missed out, just remember, we got stuff going on throughout all the show. I know there are some people that only tune in for some segments or another, and also that there are people who can't listen the whole time. No hate towards y'all. This was the first giveaway we did, so trying some things, and I think it worked because we did have David winning that gift card for Hammer and Nails. Details on that will be coming out to him, but we were going to be doing these monthly going forward. So try to give you all a little bit more of a heads up going on for it. Probably for our online audiences, specifically probably giving a little bit hints of when that next giveaway is coming. So if you're not already following us over on the social media, it's worth your while. I'll just put it that way. So congrats again to David. He'll be getting the choice of services from Hammer and Nails Grooming. And the answer to the question, which I do say frequently enough, so just make sure you're paying attention. It's located over at the Fountains at Farrah on the lower level. And if you want to be very, very specific, they are over there at 8889 Gateway Boulevard West, Suite 1760. And so some people saying that they're happy with their current haircut. Hey, if it works for you, that's great. But want to consider an upgrade or some other services, would certainly recommend, as they are, again, the official hair and beard sponsor of the show, Hammer and Nails. So some of the other things going on and affecting us here in the borderland, including about other border issues, is there was, unfortunately, over the weekend, another body pulled from the canal near Border Highway in Yarborough, according to our news partners over at KFOX 14, confirmed by the fire department that the person was deceased. Rescue crews going out there about 11:30 p.m. on Saturday to help with the water rescue, according to El Paso Fire, and then the scene turned over to Border Patrol. So border issues do continue apace in our area, but switching to another one that has been kind of percolating in the background, a lot of questions having been remained, but as the investigation was ongoing, not much to be said, even though it was, among other things, the subject of our El Paso History Radio show over this weekend. The Scottish Rite Temple in downtown El Paso, right near the entrance, right the closest building physically next to the downtown ballpark. And so after that attempt happened to, again, set the building on fire on July 24th, again, we're still saying attempted or at least alleged arson because some of the motivation still a little bit unclear there, but an arrest happening in that case now, specifically Noah Ochoa arrested on the 22nd, and the arrest affidavit does have more information on it, including the fact that he was previously out on bond for aggravated assault against a public official, which is just, again, just so smart, I do have to say there. And he has been charged with arson of property. So charged, alleged, those are the things that we'll be talking about. It is currently being held without bail until his detention hearing on August 29th. And specifically, it seems like the dude may have set himself on fire in the progress of this. Specifically, that he did have second-degree burns to his leg. So the arrest affidavit goes into a little bit more detail about the specific action. So there's been more reporting on that. But, well, I just got to read this one part. Quote, Ochoa's bond officer contacted and officers received a text from a relative of Ochoa saying Ochoa had second-degree burns to his legs from a campfire accident and was unable to meet the officer. But let's just say that some of the reporting on the video that has not been publicly released, but I'm expecting would if this were ever go forward to trial, indicates that he may have set parts of his own body and got second degrees on himself here. So again, still want to see the full legal process go through, but yeah, we need like a stupid criminal theme song kind of thing or something for incidents like this. But of course, other things going on in downtown El Paso. Rick Reyes actually specifically commenting to say, vote 4-1 to increase, raise county judge and commissioners and also increase tax rate. And to further comment about we need all women and their commissioners and a county judge. And RJ saying on the arson, saying arson could be a hazardous job. Yeah. Again, what's the phrase I think of a lot? Life's hard. It's harder if you're stupid. Or conversely, if you're going to be dumb, you better be tough. All those things come to mind. We also have Austin Redfern with greetings to all Talk El Paso fans and hello to you as well. So, but yeah, switching to county commissioners again, a lot of anticipation was coming up for this county commissioners meeting, hearing from some people that I know about, or at least the response to it, about wanting to speak before public comment. Don't have some of the full details from our news partners at KFOX 14, having myself not being able to be in the building there. Unfortunately, if I had the same reporting stuff, you bet we'd be all those places like that. But in any case, a lot of anticipation towards this, but of the different options that were available to county commissioners, including a no new revenue tax rate. It still would have included a bit of it. And of course, there was the voter approval rate, which would have been the maximum amount it could have been set to before it would have gone on to the ballots. And it was somewhere in between that, as again, some of the number crunching from our news partners over at KFOX 14, saying about that the current tax rate of about 42 cents per $100 of taxable value. And then the voter approval rate was 45 cents, would have been increased about 3 cents per, again, $100 of valuation, but does come out to some $100 a year, depending, again, your mileage is absolutely going to vary when it comes to your personal property. But I think they were shooting for somewhere in between that specifically. And so Rick Reyes, among other things, talking about it being put into place. Among other things, some of the conversations from county commissioners on this, I want to say that specifically Commissioner Stout was quoted by our news partners at KFOX 14, was on the level of that raises had been on hold for the county for the time being. And so in this case, they're now trying to put it back into line of around roughly 80% of some of the other major cities, particularly other major counties in Texas that they do survey and do the comparisons to. Now, I know that there are some people that have issues with that, and there was certainly, I know, a lot of commentary coming in on it. We'll have more of a full report from our news partners at KFOX 14 about how exactly that ended up going. But I will say that I do prefer a standard as opposed to saying, well, it seems reasonable. I mean, I do often say that, well, think about the skills, think about the competencies, think about what you would want someone to bring to the office, and then of that list, consider if the pay is commiserate with kind of attracting that kind of talent. And now, of course, an elected office certainly has different motivations, or at least should have different motivations than just your standard, like, say, high level management or C-suite type position, even in our local area. And yet making it so that it's viable for someone who has developed those skills and has been professionally working at it, as opposed to, I mean, the flip side is if you just say, I mean, I do believe county commissioners are a full-time position, haven't found anything to the contrary, as opposed to city council, which is still, I do believe to this day, and a lot of them in Texas actually considered part-time. I know that some of them at the very least have, as of recently, even kept up their own professional careers because of it, even if they've seen somewhat of an increase in their pay when it comes to city council, that is. But still, a lot of conversation was happening on that, and I'm sure we'll see even further on that specifically. And there was a lot of conversation over the weekend in response to our news partners at KFOX 14 about those pay raises and the considerations coming along with it. I will say that one other note, again, from our news partners at KFOX 14, University of Texas at El Paso commits to not increase tuition and fees for the next 2 academic year. Specifically comes from an announcement from the University of Texas System Board of Regents approving the plan to maintain cost of attesting college at UT institutions at the Regents fall meeting. So that will be kept in place at the very least. So those are some of the things going on and affecting all of those issues. And at least one other I do want to mention here, because we're firmly in that campaign already as well. El Paso Inc. has a pretty good roundup in this most recent edition from August 27th of Meet the 5 El Pasoans who want to be the next sheriff, including Robert Bobby Flores, Oscar Ugarte, Ryan Urrutia, Minerva Torres, and Raul Mendiola. So I know that at least one of those, I'll have to go back and see if I can find the actual information. I obviously wasn't able to attend because it was happening during our show, but it was a rally, or at least campaign announcement event, what have you, not too far down the street at one of the nearby institutions of a public gathering. So I would say it was a bar, and talking about, it had the big signs out in front, professionally set up by the event. So we're definitely into that season, I do have to say, and it seems very much as there has been for the next November's election. We do have one on the ballot for this November. Don't get me mistaken there either, though this one is going to be primarily on any local issues and also certainly on some of those those property tax proposals when it comes to the Texas constitutional amendments that are going to have to go into place on that item specifically. But again, El Paso Inc. does have your roundup of at least some of the initial parts of the, again, sheriff's candidates, as we also have Sean Gardner chiming in with us. Good afternoon to you as well, and to saying that to everyone else in there as well. One other thing I want to mention here is that as much as we've had a lot of fun with public health issues here, one of those kind of that has come into the background but is still present in our region. They're being announced specifically by the City of El Paso Department of Public Health. The 3rd case of neuroinvasive West Nile virus disease confirmed in this season in the City of El Paso, a woman in her 20s with no underlying conditions. So that has been, and it does note that 8 out of 10 people infected with West Nile virus will not develop symptoms, but it can be serious for those that particularly have underlying conditions. So that's another one of those fun things that is still present in our area. So if you got mosquitoes coming around you, particularly with all those rains recently, just remember to drain standing water and wear long sleeves and potentially use specifically insect repellents with DEET, D-E-E-T in it. So let's go and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll talk more about particularly that upcoming election for the state of Texas, because we got some big issues on the ballot there as well. So let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, talking about that, and some other law enforcement things, including it came out Friday, but more of the finalists for the El Paso Chief of Police. Delving more into that. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A whole lot more discussion about the things going on affecting us here in the borderlands. So stay tuned after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere. Texas Mutual Insurance Company will be having their WorkSafe Texas Summit coming to the El Paso area Tuesday, September 19th at the Hotel Paso del Norte in downtown El Paso, where they are going to be bringing safety and compliance information that can help employers work to protect their workers. It's a 2.5-hour free event with a free breakfast, and parking validation will also be provided, so pre-parking there as well. 2 interactive Q&A sessions with safety experts, including OSHA information panel discussion and workplace safety panel discussion with helpful resources and safety materials provided, including also making the opportunity for networking with other business owners and safety professionals. Space is limited, so make sure to register by September 12th at texasmutual.com/summit. That's texasmutual.com/SUMMIT. Again, the Texas Mutual Insurance Company's WorkSafe Texas Summit in the El Paso area Tuesday, September 19th at the Hotel Paso del Norte in downtown.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
With your KFOX 14 news update, I'm Liz Dewicki. A man was arrested and charged in connection to the arson at the Scottish Rite Temple in downtown El Paso last month. Authorities arrested Noah Ochoa on August 22nd. That building on Missouri Avenue was set on fire back on July 24th. El Paso police searching for two men who were seen in a surveillance video burglarizing the Housing Authority of El Paso business office in the Lower Valley. It happened Saturday when two men were recorded approaching the business office right off of Martin Luther King Apartments in Butternut Street. The men used a grabbing tool to steal money orders from an overnight deposit box. Anyone with information should call Crime Stoppers of El Paso. Finally, here, the University of Texas at El Paso will not increase tuition or mandatory fees for the next 2 academic years for 23-24 and 24-25, according to school officials. The announcement comes as the University of Texas System Board of Regents approved the plan to maintain the cost of attending college at their recent fall meeting. Fall 2024 classes began Monday, August 28th. That's your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Liz Dewicki.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
That earlier crash on South Desert Boulevard at North Mesa has cleared. All lanes are back open. A crash on Gateway West at Loma Land. A stalled semis blocking the right lane on Gateway West at Airway. And just a heads up, I-10 westbound at Trans Mountain, that exit 6, still closed for the rest of this week due to road work. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is forecaster Nasai Mancini. Well, folks, we're in for warm temperatures as we start our week. Also, some rain chances as we head on throughout tonight. Monday night. Come tomorrow for Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll see slight rain chances with some chances for some thunderstorms as well. Head on over to kfoxtv.com, though, for the latest forecast.
This report is sponsored by Irish Spring, the fresh scent of Irish Spring. And those sensational Irish Spring suds are just the reset you need to own the day. Irish Spring. When the spring hits you, you're ready. Pick up Irish Spring at your local retailer today.
Every day, you breathe in thousands of microscopic germs, allergens, and viruses. Don't let these invisible invaders make breathing through your nose impossible. Flush them out with Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril around the back of the nose and out the other nostril, helping flush out all the nasty things that make you miserable. Nearly 4 million people use Navage to breathe better, snore less, and feel healthier. People like Cindy, a verified Navage user who writes, "I've had such awful nasal congestion for the last couple of years. I bought Navage and OMG, I can breathe again. I love this thing. Goodbye, Neti Pot. Hello, Navage." End quote. If you suffer from sinus congestion, allergies, or snoring, then Navage is the safe, drug-free solution you've been looking for. Navage is at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and Navage.com. Navage. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
What does the Affordable Connectivity Program sound like? It sounds like a student doing their homework online.
If X equals 4.
Eligible households save $30 a month on internet. Like the sound of that? The ACP. Sign up, connect, and save at getinternet.gov.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Shopping for new blinds? At Blindster, we offer over 50 different blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices, custom made for your windows, and shipping is free. Shop at home and order 10 free samples of any product before you buy. Blindster.com.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at kcsmradio.com. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Getting a lot of people tuning in, chiming in on all of those kind of things, including RJ responding to that commissioner pay raise up for consideration, saying if they actually earn the money for what they do, I'm okay with it. But if they are politicians, lying crooks. So I guess that's a negative in the support of that particular item there. along with others tuning in and chiming in over there, dropping those likes and reacts that we certainly do appreciate, including Sean Gardner, Ida Beza Gardner, James Holmes, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, Matt Olson, RJ Promotes, and Angel Rueda. We appreciate that. It helps us with also those algorithmic parts of our mission to, well, do all the things that we do here. So a couple other things going on. Of course, elsewhere in the state, there was another request from ERCOT to reduce power usage, specifically from 4 to 9 p.m., referring to the reporting here from the Texas Tribune, Alver, from this weekend, saying specifically, quote, Texans asked residents to conserve power for 4 consecutive days amid intense heat. Now, interestingly enough, where I don't think we're still under that heat dome, that is the way the phrase I guess we've gone on for, the heat wave that's definitely been going on. So noting that in the past 4 days, similar calls were made on August 17th and 20th, specifically for, again, the rest of Texas. We've had some wind, rain, and interesting weather in between. I think we've stayed below the triple digits in our particular region in recent days. That is technically, and that's also one of the things that specifically El Paso Inc. kind of answers, at least in a different way. They do take those reader questions, and there was a specific question about where is the thermometer and weather station located at the El Paso International Airport, noting that it's inside the 170-foot Federal Aviation Administration's control tower, where the weather observers collect and record and map the city's weather conditions for that part of it. Of course, there is also the Santa Teresa station, the main National Weather Service station. That's that, if you look out on the horizon towards, the mesas over to, well, the west, if you're in El Paso, or on the west side of El Paso, that golf ball that's like floating on the horizon out there, that's what it looks like kind of anyway. It's actually a weather radar dome, and so that's where a lot of other weather gathering ends up happening out from that particular area. But so we've seen our own individual circumstances, including leading to some people having to be rescued. Specifically, a man in his 40s had a bone fracture while hiking in McKelligan Canyon, and rescue teams had to hoof it up the trail. Some of the pictures from El Paso Fire Department available over on social media and from our news partners at KFOX 14. Hiker was brought down after he was stabilized. So no too bad details there, though. Again, just be careful if you're out on the trail. It's not the first time this season, though probably less bad at the very least in terms of response than other times when people have gotten very injured, particularly or having to be rescued after dark or unfortunately perished in the process. So just be careful and make sure you know your limits to this. So we were talking a little bit earlier about the fact that we have some law enforcement shakeups coming for El Paso, because we have both technically either current or upcoming, depending how you define it, vacancies for both, of course, the sheriff's department. We've got the election expected next year with, of course, the primaries. That's why we're seeing all the spin up for that right now. But more specifically, we do have a little bit before that, the El Paso police chief finalist has been named, with final interviews expected in 2 weeks, referring specifically to the reporting from El Paso Matters on this. So 4 specific candidates, 3 of them with ties to El Paso, and it does include interim Chief Peter Pasillas with the El Paso Police Department, and one of them from out of the area. This according to, again, the deputy city manager and city council on Thursday. So we discussed it a little bit on Friday. So the final round of interviews is expected to be September 13th and 14th, according to the email obtained by El Paso Matters. And the next step will be to host on-site interviews to include multiple interview panels and practical exercises, as well as a public reception, with the meet and greet to be 6 p.m. September 13th at the El Paso Museum of Art in downtown El Paso. So mentioning the finalists, of course, we've talked previously again about Pasillas, who has been in the El Paso Police Department since 1985, an assistant chief from 2009 to 2023. Another one is Steve Dye, D-Y-E, recently retired as Grand Prairie city manager and served as that city's chief of police from 2011 to 2020 himself. Spent 29 years in law enforcement. Another finalist, David Ransom, former El Paso police officer and currently teaches criminal justice courses at Bay State College in Boston, and served as the chief of police at the Berkeley School of Music in Boston. Berkeley, in this case, spelled Berklee, and was in El Paso with EPPD, serving in patrol, gang enforcement, and SWAT. And then finally rounding out this class of candidates, Victor Zarur, Z-A-R-U-R, so I'm going with Zarur on that one, currently serves as interim executive assistant chief of operations in the Office of Performance and Development with the El Paso Police Department. So to immediately connected and to and currently serving in El Paso police officers, or again service connected individuals, or leadership, I guess I should better say, and a couple that have previously been, and one that was outside of the area. So that'll be one of the most important things that'll be being done under, again, the interim city manager. So we'll see how that one works out. But one other thing that, of course, will be coming up in more recent elections, I was mentioning that, yeah, this November, we are going to be seeing, as part of that plan that was passed finally by the two somewhat rambunctious houses of the Texas legislature, the House and the Senate, finally agreeing on a specific plan to see that property tax reduction, and kind of in a hybrid plan, I guess would be the best way to put it, at least in short, without going back through the whole ding-damn history of it, of which has been significant just this year alone, of seeing the property tax relief. Basically, in this case, both extending what is available for the homestead exemptions for, of course, everyone, but then also some other options when it comes to certain percentages and decreases. Basically, what it boils down to is that part of the budget that has previously been funded by property taxes from individual taxpayers in Texas for school districts will be coming instead from state coffers and state funding sources. And that is particularly what is going to be, again, on the ballot here in this coming November. And El Paso Matters, again, specifically has some interesting breakdowns of the analysis of the average value home in El Paso's three largest districts, well, noting they'll see school tax savings if fully approved and fully gone through, of about $533 to about $783 per year. So it could be significant in that own right. But again, SB2, as it came down to, that is, again, doubling the homestead exemption roughly to about $40,000 a year to $100,000 going forward. And again, that means that won't be taxable, but again, just for the school taxes. And so this will have to go to the November 7th election, but they've said it there, and I guess I wouldn't be too surprised, having not seen an exact polling on this either, that this isn't going to face too much opposition. I would be very surprised myself, I will definitely say that, if this were to not end up going through. So those are a few things going on and certainly affecting us here in the Borderland region as we look at a lot of this. Though I will say, from our news partners at KFOX 14, an interesting article out today: rise in homeschooling numbers in El Paso plays a role in declining enrollment. It's been one of those, I guess, kind of anecdotal type issues and questions been going on about, okay, particularly since, the school shutdowns and issues like that. And I've heard of individual instances of people saying, oh, well, we just did our own little, homeschool cluster, even hired a teacher because we could collectively pay them better than they would be hired professionally. So those kind of things. But our news partners at KFOX 14 did actually, through open record requests and things like that, get the TEA, Texas Education Agency, numbers on how many of students El Paso's three largest districts have lost to homeschooling, and noting specifically that SISD had a little bit over 180 students through the pandemic. That number rose to about 500, according to SISD Superintendent Dr. Nate Carmen. And so interesting breakdown of that there, seeing some significant rise, at least percentage-wise, if not necessarily overwhelming, though I guess that could account for an elementary school or two if you think about it that way. So they do know, Carmen did note that they are still up in overall enrollment, breaking 48,000 enrolled students last year. So it's an interesting move there. They have the full breakdown of it again with our news partners at KFOX 14. Rise in homeschooling numbers in El Paso plays a role in declining enrollment. But getting close to that next break right now, some other comments coming in, including Trito Sack saying Commissioner's Court pushed for the voter approval rate for El Paso County as well as medical district. Holguin was the only opposing vote. And Rick Reyes with some further breakdown about the from Governor Abbott, about $637 for homestead minus $115 from county, leaving $522 still left city, noting city EPIs, DEPCC, and UMC. Hopefully tax rates, hopefully $637 does not go negative on me. See how it works, but again, is subject to a few upcoming votes. But we'll talk about that and a whole lot more after we take this next break, and go ahead and open up those phone lines as we usually do at this point during the program. So if you want to call in, chime in, add your 2 cents, that number, of course, to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Gateway West is closed after a stalled semi is blocking multiple lanes. An accident reported Donovan Drive south of Mesa at Crossroads. Police are still working an accident Gateway West at Loma Land. Carrie Edwards, El Paso Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Right now, during Labor Day savings at Lowe's, get up to $1,500 off select major kitchen appliances. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 8/30. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for details.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain.
But we don't speak Spanish.
So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks. Babbel's conversational method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish.
Estoy muy emocionado para ir a España contigo.
Aw, he just said, I'm very excited to go to Spain with you. Nos vamos a divertir mucho.
And that means we're going to have a lot of fun.
Sí. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Gift cards are for gifts, only gifts. If someone asks you to pay them with gift cards to fix a problem, that's a scam. Only scammers ask you to pay that way. If you think you paid a scammer, report it to the gift card company. Ask for your money back. Then tell the FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov.
Listen to Kelvin. What he's about to say could change your life.
I'm 6'2", and I was about 290. I lost weight fast. I trimmed down. Now I'm about 235. I'm probably at about 9, maybe 10% body fat. That's great. I lost probably at least 60 pounds in probably 3.5, 4 months. Color of my hair is coming back. Skin looks better. Obviously gaining muscle. My muscle mass is coming back. Thank you for providing an awesome product. Somebody who actually has and does what they say they will. That's awesome.
That's great, Kelvin. Losing that belly fat in less than 4 months is outstanding. Since 2004, Andro 400 has been changing men's lives, like Kelvin, and can help you lose belly fat, gain energy, and improve your lifestyle. We guarantee it. Go to andro400.com for more true testimonials, before and after photos, and special discounts. Only available on andro400.com. andro400.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. At Blindster, we offer over 50 different custom window treatments, including faux wood blinds and shutters, all at prices less than retail. Plus, we'll send you free samples before you buy. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Of course, Talk El Paso brought to you in part by Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Their end of summerbration for the Make This the Summer event going on. We can get up to no payments for up to 90 days and as low as 2.9% APR for 72 months on their brand new 2023 Dodge Ram 1500 Lone Star Edition for well-qualified buyers. See them for details, but of course, find them at 950 Crockett Street, right across I-10 from Sunland Park Mall, Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. So, a lot of stuff we're talking about here today, and of course, we do have those phone lines open, 915-544-5876, for KTSM. Though there has been one thing that hasn't been getting as reported on, just because I think it's still percolating through, but became very aware that there actually has been now, as much as we've been talking about ethics complaints, particularly the city's ethics commission and the whole gas card controversy that does continue on. I know that there's some reporting out there about their other complaints being considered against other members of city council, but specifically, I am aware that we've often mentioned it, even in the progression of the other parts of it, but now specifically that Philip Thomas Lagine Jr. in District 6 has filed a complaint against former City Rep Claudia Lizette Rodriguez as of, I do believe, today. over the, again, alleged abuse of gas card privileges, as noted there. And the question on that has been, at least as it's been referenced, Rodriguez has often been brought up as a former city council member as being the next highest user, at least from the initial investigation and information that has been released. So now, and has been noted, among other things, that Section 2.92.120 of the Ethics Ordinance states, quote, "The Ethics Review Commission shall have the jurisdiction to review alleged violations of Article 2, Standards of Conduct, of this chapter by officers that occurred within 2 years of the complaint being filed," end quote. And as has been further noted, there is no exception for those that are no longer in office. So that for complaint has been filed. I do have some questions about the perceived use of that because, among other things, as what came out during the, again, investigation, progression, and even the most recent request to revisit that decision or remove, actually, the letter specifically being done by current City Rep Cassandra Hernandez, is that the actions that can be taken by the commission, among other things, are of either no action, a letter of correction, a letter of reprimand, which of course ended up happening, and the action that was taken by the commission against sitting City Rep Hernandez, or a recommendation of removal from office. Now, particularly that being effectively the most egregious thing that they could do, the commission that is, in response to any individual elected official's conduct who relates to these offices, would be completely a moot point against Rodriguez. But Rodriguez has responded in part, very least sending out a letter that we did receive. How that progresses, but let's go ahead and dive into those phone lines here, at least for a bit, as I did say we'll have them open, but I wanted to make sure we got that point noted. We again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Ben on the east side here with us right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Andrew, I want you and every one of your listeners to take time out to listen to some of the public comments given at the El Paso Commissioner's Court today
certainly,
about increasing the county tax rate and raising the salaries of the county judge and county commissioners. Comments given by Judge Samaniego and Commissioners Stout, Leon, and Coronado at the end of that meeting should give all El Paso County residents a reason to start a recall of all of them. Only Commissioner Holguin was a champion for the people. All the comments in the public comment section of the meeting chastised the government, the judge, and the commissioners for their stance on the tax rate and proposed 16.5% raise in their salaries. But at the end of it, they voted for their pay raise and the highest tax rate of 3 options given to them, raising taxes in an economic environment that has most El Pasoans fighting to feed and provide for their families. This was a slap in the face to all El Pasoans by an elitist court. By the way, if you do listen to the meeting, start when they come back from lunch at 1:15, because they didn't start the public comments until after they got all their business done in the morning.
Okay.
Making everybody there that was waiting to give a public comment or to wait around and wait for them to come back so people can actually talk to their government.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to do more review on that. We're waiting on more from, I know that there was reporters from our news partners at KFOX 14 in the Commissioner's Court's chambers as part of this, so I expect a lot more reporting both from them on this evening, and also, of course, us, and I'm sure it'll be a point of more content, and see if we can pull some sound bites from that, particularly for our show tomorrow.
The elitist statements that the commissioners and the county judge made were just reprehensible, disgusting. Well, obviously, they do not have any idea what town they are representing.
Well, appreciate your point in the call and your interpretation of that. I'm sure we'll talk a whole lot more about that, but do appreciate it. You have a good one there.
You stay well, stay safe. God bless. And let's go, Brandon. One other thing, I did listen to the whole committee meeting, and I called in, and it was just a cluster. You know what? Thank you.
Appreciate not finishing that phrase. Cluster muffin is the way I refer to it, but do appreciate you have, again, good one there.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, we'll go ahead and pretty well close to the pin to take that next break right now, so I think we'll go ahead and do that. But we do have, of course, those phone lines open if you want to add your 2 cents and comment on this or the other things going on and affecting us here in the borderland today. So if you want to chime in, of course, that number to do so. And lines are available. Let's make that perfectly clear. 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. Hammer and Nails, El Paso's newest, and I would not say it's a totally well-kept secret because we talk about it all the time. Official hair and beard sponsors of the show, Hammer and Nails is your destination, the one I certainly go to for all my men's grooming needs, whether it be the haircut, beard trim that you only see exemplified on camera for those of us looking over on the social media, or for also, facial treatments, hand, foot, literally head-to-toe coverage from them, from just about anything that you need, which is why you should go and find them over there at the Fountains at Farrah on the lower level, 8889 Gateway Boulevard, Suite 1760, or you can just make your appointment online with hammerandnailsgrooming.com. One of the easier ways to do it. Super simple. The first time I did it, just went online to pick the services that I was looking for. Again, that haircut and that beard trim, and went there and had a beautiful experience through it all. They meet you at the door with your favorite brew of choice, brew, cocktail, coffee. If you're just doing that, I was an early morning appointment, so that's what I opted for. But in any case, Hammer and Nails Grooming, find them online, hammerandnailsgrooming.com. That's hammer, A-N-D, nailsgrooming.com, and I'll see you there.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On Gateway West after Airway, a stalled semi is blocking multiple lanes. We got slow traffic on the 10 eastbound through downtown, starting at just after Cotton through Trowbridge. That's a 5-minute delay. Heavy traffic on southbound Mesa from Desert Boulevard down to Yandell. It's a 7-minute delay. And road work done for the day. South Joe Battle at Pebble Hills. All lanes are back open there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
With the Autio app riding shotgun, every road trip is an adventure.
Autio is my traveling companion. It's educational, entertaining, funny. It makes the drive come to life.
The Autio app automatically plays you stories about the natural wonders, local legends, and fascinating histories outside your car window, with over 10,000 unique stories from coast to coast.
I've learned more about my hometown from the Autio app than I did growing up here.
Autio, the perfect companion for your next road trip. Learn more at autio.com.
Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. Keeping you informed and up to date. El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Our iHeartRadio Music Festival is coming back to T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas this September.
Superstar artists from every genre.
Streaming live only on Hulu.
Buy tickets now at AXS.com.
Traffic's bad enough without Mother Nature adding to your headache. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM. News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
And NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The University of North Carolina confirms one faculty member was killed after a shooting on campus Monday. Police say they have a suspect in custody, but are not releasing a name or possible charges. Earlier reports indicated the shooter was a grad student. Tropical storm Idalia is marching towards Florida. Luke Strickland with Florida's Emergency Management says his agency is ready.
We are preparing the best we can. We have personnel all through the state ready to respond to the storm.
The storm's expected to strengthen into a hurricane later today and pass over western Cuba tonight. The storm currently has sustained winds at or above 70 miles per hour with even higher gusts. Idalia will become a dangerous major hurricane and make landfall on Florida's Gulf Coast by early Wednesday morning. The death toll after the wildfire in Lahaina remains at 115. 3 more victims' names were publicly released on Sunday. 43 victims have now been publicly identified. Former President Trump's federal 2020 election interference case will begin in the middle of the Republican presidential primaries. The Obama-appointed judge today scheduled the trial to start on March 4th, 2024, the day before Super Tuesday. He's facing 3 other criminal cases. A new study is finding early signs of CTE in athletes who died before age 30. Lisa Taylor has the details.
Research from Boston University CTE Center looks at the neurodegenerative disease in young adults and includes what is said to be the first case of an American woman athlete diagnosed with it. Published in JAMA Neurology, the study shows that about 40% of the brain studied developed some early signs of CTE, which is linked to repeated head trauma. I'm Lisa Taylor.
American Airlines is being hit with the largest ever fine for keeping passengers waiting on the tarmac. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. Bags of frozen vegetables that were sold nationwide are being recalled because they might be contaminated with listeria. The bags of frozen mixed vegetables and sweet corn were sold at close to 4,000 Kroger and Food Lion grocery stores and supermarkets. The FDA has posted a list of the affected lot numbers on its website. Officials say there haven't been any illnesses tied to the products. The vegetables are products of Seattle area Twin City Foods. A former Disney Channel actor is out on bond after his arrest in Texas. Michael Kastner reports.
Mitchell Musso, the former star of Hannah Montana, was arrested in Texas for theft and public intoxication. Officers responded Saturday night to a reported disturbance at a hotel in Rockwall, Texas. They arrested the 32-year-old who was reportedly intoxicated and had eaten a bag of chips without paying for them. He bonded out on Sunday.
Today is a top drawer fashion day for men.
Today we celebrate the fanciest of neckties, usually worn for formal occasions. It's National Bow Tie Day. Bowsandties.com says only about 1% of men actually know how to tie one, which is why pre-tied clip-ons are so popular. It's Croatian from the 17th century, designed to hold a shirt collar together, pre-button, of course. It said a man who wears one is considered confident, but women can wear them too. So grab your bow tie and fancy up the workday. I'm Bree Tennis.
If you have the mouth of a sailor, you could just be more intelligent than most. Studies have shown that swearing is a sign of higher intelligence and also helps manage pain. A Massachusetts College of Liberal Arts professor who studied the subject for over 4 decades says the benefits of using vulgar language have been discovered using a lot of research on the brain and emotion, along with much better technology to study brain anatomy. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now, your chance at $1,000 and a trip to our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Yeah! Text the nationwide keyword LUCKY to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's LUCKY to 200-200.
Win your way to our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival and $1,000.
Man, that is great. You'll be there.
T-Mobile Arena here in Las Vegas.
September 22nd and 23rd.
Streaming live only on Hulu.
The iHeartRadio Music Festival.
The Hartford Small Business Insurance knows that opening a small business is a great achievement. Thanks to all the owners for all they do to keep our communities vibrant and strong. Learn more about the Hartford Small Business Insurance and why over 1 million small business owners trust them. Visit thehartford.com/small business.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Labor Day savings start now at Lowe's. Save on select 3-quart mums. Right now, just 2 for $12. Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 8/30 in-store only. Actual plant size and selection varies by location. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Good news, El Paso. The WorkSafe Texas Summit is coming, and it's absolutely free. You don't want to miss this exciting opportunity to get important information that can help you protect your workers. Texas Mutual Insurance Company's innovative safety event features panel discussions, safety materials, and more. It's free, it's informative, and we're even providing breakfast. So join us from 8 to 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday, September 19th at the Hotel Paso del Norte. Register at texasmutual.com/summit.
Only iHeartRadio gives you access to all of your favorite radio stations.
It's the Woody Show.
Rover's Morning Glory.
The Rod Ryan Show.
All of the once-in-a-lifetime events.
iHeartRadio Music Festival.
All of the best free curated playlists. Everything that rocks. All the great podcasts for every interest.
This is Freddie Prinze Jr. from the Wrestling with Freddie podcast.
All of the mind-blowing contests.
$20,000.
Awesome. All of your favorite superstars.
We are 30 Seconds to Mars.
This is Alex from All Time Low. Download the iHeartRadio app today. Free has never sounded so good.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Ruli's International Kitchen, of course, one of the places that I go for the everyday occasion and those special events and celebrations. Forget great food that is both familiar, of course, inspired by the borderland region, but also international fusions, great flavors that you're not going to get anywhere else. Often great combinations at the front door. I was very sad that I missed out on one of their great features because they had run out for the day, but they've always got new stuff, new features, new items, and even a new revamped menu that I'm still delving through over there at Ruli's International Kitchen. If you want to make your reservation, you can, of course, give them a call at 915-313-4806. That's 915-313-4806, or just find them over there, not too far from Mesa and Executive, or right off I-10 and Executive at 4176 North Mesa. Ruli's International Kitchen. Find all the details on them, their hours, and some of those special features. If you missed out on that Rick at Night feature, don't worry, they got more coming up for you next month, but find them online at rulisik.com. That's RULISIK.com.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days. Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or Twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, including, of course, those dropping those likes and reacts, particularly over on the Facebook primarily. But hey, if you like it, want to talk about it, mention it to someone else, we appreciate all the methods that works for you in our continued mission to have live local talk radio and talk about the things going on here in the borderland, including, of course, right now we do have Rick Reyes, Sean Gardner, Ida Beza Gardner, James Holmes, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, Matt Olson, RJ, and Angel Rueda. Again, if you just like the ability to talk about these things, that's what we take it as, because Lord knows we got plenty of topics that I'm never like, yeah, this is the best thing ever, because that's not how this works. But in the meantime, a lot of other comments coming in, and including in kind of a confirmation of what previous caller said, Tritosac saying, Commissioners Court pushed the voter-approved rate for El Paso County as well as the medical district. I got to say, I am mildly surprised at that, because I want to say that at least one of the proposed rates, unless I'm completely mistaken, was actually in the mid-range of that, as I said previous in the show. So I'm sure we'll have a lot more discussion on this and probably more conversation about that. And Matt Olson asking how some quacks never smashed the like button. Listen, not everyone's online, and not everyone has to be. We are still very much a radio show, and all of these are, what's a good way to put it? Value-added features, I suppose. I mean, if you want to see me and apparently my very interesting facial expressions with any particular part of this, that's one added benefit of it. But again, that's the way things are moving, and we try to be responsive as possible, both to feedback, criticism, praise, etc. The one definitely comes more than the other. Anyway, let's get back to those phone lines now, as of course we do have those open. So that number to call if you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents, is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. A lot to be discussed, a lot going on, a lot affecting us directly and right here in the borderland region. So on the line with us right now, we do have Raul in the Northeast joining us right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. On Friday, Ben called me out and took 11 minutes of questions that he wanted to ask me and comments to me. So I hope I get that time to answer them, okay? Now, he started out by saying, isn't it interesting that all of Trump's indictments are in Democratic-controlled courts in districts. Well, that's not true, Ben. Trump's stolen secret war plans at Magaloco are being held in Florida in a Trump district with a Trump-appointed rookie Trump judge. Okay? Now, Trump, if he didn't want those, cases taking place there, he shouldn't have committed the crimes there, in those venues where there are a lot of Democrats. Yeah, in Washington, D.C., Now, by the way, Ben, that's the way it works. The trials are held where the crimes were committed. Doesn't that make sense, Ben? Now, about Alex Jones. Alex Jones is a lying pig. He's the worst of what you can find in America on the airwaves. I mean, here's a pig that lied. Well, he got sued for defamation and slander for calling the Sandy Hook school massacre, where little kids were killed, a hoax, a deep state false flag. And you know what happened to those parents when Alex was talking that crazy stuff? They got death threats from people. He helped ruin their lives further. Losing your kid in a school shooting, that was not a hoax. That was not a false flag done by the deep state. It's nothing funny. And yeah, it was his opinion. His opinion? Why didn't he go down there and find out firsthand? Talk to the cops, talk to the parents, talk to the teachers, talk to the administrators. To support a scum like that, Ben, tells me a lot about you. Let me tell you, buddy. Okay? Now, he wants to know about Bidenomics and how it's helping Americans, okay? That's a good question, okay? Now, according to a recent article in by the way, I'll preface this. I've been in the financial service industry for over 45 years. So I think I have a little bit of a understanding of what's going on in our economy, in business, as a result of having that experience and lots of clients and having been a regional vice president for a financial services company for many years. So anyway, according to we follow data, by the way, Ben, and metrics, things that we can find incredible, publications like Barron's Magazine. It's not exactly a left-wing, publication. Now, according to their research, the economic records of both presidents, of Biden and Trump, is mixed. That's the fair look at it. Now, President Trump inherited a healthy economy from President Obama. That was 8 years past the 2007-2009 economic downturn, which was caused by Republican George Bush invading a country that we didn't need to invade and putting the bill, running up the bill and having China, pay for it in a sense. They buy American bonds. He crashed the economy with that. He was a horrible president, but Trump is worse. Now, in that period under study, job growth during Trump's term was chugged along and inflation was tame, okay? But wages were flat and increased the gross domestic product and job creation were more or less a continuation of the trends that began in the Obama years, rather than any direct result of changes that Trump made. Now, he did have one big legislative victory, okay, Ben, in his early years. He cut taxes for the super rich, okay, his buddies, the swamp creatures. And you know what that happened? It actually helped boost the stock market and fuel investment and demand. And it also drove up the size of the U.S. debt more than all the presidents combined, Ben. 25% of all the debt was added under Trump, okay? And it was bought by China, where Trump has had his clothing lines made for a generation, okay? Now,
so, as much as, again, I love a good review of the previous one, and yes, you were specifically given some questions to respond to here, and some of these are very much, I guess, at least impacting locally. Economic focuses and forces of it certainly do come out here, but again, that was also a Friday point being made. So if you want to respond fully to that here, giving you a couple of minutes here until we basically have to take that next break here, so hoping to come around to a local point here. But of all the things being discussed today, again, we'll give someone leeway in order to respond specifically to it. But if you're wanting to then drag in the national topics to it, that's what we have Friday for. So we'll certainly give you time to continue responding to it here, because as someone has specifically talked about. But here's the thing about, of course, Monday through Thursday, talk about the local stuff, of which we've laid out a significant amount of issues. So give you at least one chance to anything you specifically want to say on those before we again get to that next Friday.
On local issues?
Sure.
Well, El Paso suffers from failed leadership because we have plutocracy in this community too. And it turns out that the people with the big bucks have inordinate influence and power over public policy. They get corporate welfare, they get, they turn down City Hall and put a ballpark on it, whatever their next vision is. And until we create a system to assess, to find out what El Pasoans really want, how they want to see their taxes spent and not spent, what they think the problems in the community are, what their solutions. That a full-blown effort to gather that data using the educational institutions that we have here in this community and the school districts, and empower students with going out there and finding out what's happening there in their neighborhoods and playing a part in building that database, then nothing's going to change. Like Einstein said, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is a definition of insanity. We need a new model. We need a new paradigm, locally and nationally, because the country is hurting and it's failing, and we got so many nuts ready to kill for this messiah of morons.
Okay, well, on the specifically local aspect of it here, I've been full in favor of people being more participatory to it, though I think that it's a little, highbrow is the right way for it, but specifically towards only, putting something in place to get everyone, you could even go further with it and say everyone will be issued a device like, a smartphone or a tablet or something else like that, in which there will be, daily reviews or questions, or maybe just make it an app or something. And there's a lot of possibility with that, though I would have to say I think all of this, it turns on more people being involved, and I don't think there's a reason to necessarily wait. Like in this case, the phrase that comes to mind would, don't let perfect be the enemy of good, or at the very least better, because getting more people involved in the issues, getting more people at the very least to turn out to the polls, and that takes, and it doesn't end up being that sexy unless you're like really into politics and really into politicking, specifically about going out grassroots, getting people to just show up. Like literally, I'm in favor of more people going out to vote. I don't even necessarily care how or why at this point. Would love high information, well-researched voters, but again, perfect not being the enemy of good, or at the very least better. And so just getting people out, and because the way I see it, going to the ballot box, if you're eligible and able to do so, is you're punching your ticket to public life. So if we can't even get people to do that, I don't know how well received or how well interactive it would be. If it becomes another chore, so to speak, then people aren't going to do it. Lord knows that, like language learning apps and stuff like that, how many people fall off the wagon even though they're getting constant reminders about that, or other type of non as vapid social media stuff. So we need to change. I'll agree with you in this part. We need to change at the very least some of the culture here in El Paso, at the very least the disconnection that we do have from the individual and the ballot box and the public office and public issues that come after that. Because I don't think if we figure out a way to rectify that, and the best answer I've come up with, and I'm certainly interested in hearing from more about explaining to people why it's important, and why, if they're ticked off about, wait, why did my rent, why did my property taxes, why did my everything go up more, and try to, as opposed to just being up, well, that's the way it is, I guess we just got to live with it, as opposed to there are certain people who have made certain decisions, such as, kind of case in point, as for today, County Commissioner's Court, which again, going with that, the way phrase I'm aware of it being called was the rollback tax rate, or the voter approval rate, above which it would have to go onto the ballot. Them even going to that level is damn surprising to me, I gotta say, because it's always been a part of the schedule of options that has been presented. Those calculations are done beforehand. So county commissioners going for that, sure, we saw in the midst of the pandemic, commissioners going with new revenue tax rate and holding off. So I'll be reviewing more of the comments and things coming in, as previous callers did ask for and specifically recommend, along the lines of seeing what they said and specifically their responses. But I'm basing this off of some previous statement made in previous meetings by county commissioners along the lines of, well, we got to make up for lost ground and lost time. So I'm surprised. I do have to say I'm surprised and wonder how well this is going to work out for them, because as much as, yes, city and county have incredibly different funding mandates and rules in place in them, city has any pay increases have to be approved via voters, and commissioners do approve their own, even if the city has changed the formula slightly within the bounds of what is allowable. Point is that without getting people to like understand and look at and be a part of these decisions, I don't see that even with some fancy organization going on with it, which sounds fantastic, by the way. I would so be in favor of more public polling. It's very limited at best in our area. I think mostly around elections and done purely by not even just volunteer organizations, but like student. And I'm not even talking about college. I mean like high school student volunteer organizations, which, I mean, they've got certain capacities and not much beyond that. That is by no means a dig against them, referring to the We Fill in the Blank group. I've greatly appreciated what they've done in the past, but it's limited and not necessarily the total scope that we need and frankly deserve in our area. So with all of that in mind, again, end goal would frankly agree with you about having more people involved, or at the very least input available from them, and being able to bring that to particularly, city council, county commissioners, what else have you, as a, hey, y'all are saying that this is what the voter or your constituents want. Here's the actual data. Something like that would be great. But getting to actually people even to do that, I mean, polling efforts are enough. I'm aware of a couple other like semi-bootstrap kind of efforts, but I don't think they're truly at the like scientific polling level as of this point, at least not that I'm been aware of anyway. So with all that in mind, let's just get people to the polls. That's at the very least a very good first step here. So appreciate the point and the call for what it's worth here, but we'll be back right after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk, talking a whole lot more about the issues and concepts going on here in our borderland region after this, and of course, taking those phone calls, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. Mazer Security Alarms, present in our area for decades now, because that's what they do as certified installation techs, able to take care of you, your family, your home, your security, wherever you need it and wherever you have it. They have options available for you. No job is too large or too small, and they specifically want you to know that you can trust them, because when other companies use deceptive practices or uncertified installers, that has been their focus for their more than 41 years in business. Ask them about their $690 discount for your, again, free quote, free estimate, and with low payment options and no down payment options available. There's a whole lot of great reason to, again, reach out to Mazer Security Alarms, literally providing services for our offices and that security. So give them a call at 915-590-0033. That's 915-590-0033. Mazer Security Alarms.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Most of your Valley freeways looking pretty good, crash-free so far this afternoon. Slow traffic on the I-10 eastbound Cotton to Trowbridge. That's a 5-minute delay. Lanes are back open on Gateway West at Airway after that stalled semi's been moved off to the side. And just a reminder, I-10 westbound at Trans Mountain, the connecting roadway exit there at exit 6 is still closed due to road work. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by TurnToSupportsTX.org.
No one gets me. I can't take this. Where's home tonight? Hope mom's okay.
Life can take a turn for anyone. So remember, there are always people, places, and activities for you to turn to. Learn more about mental health at TurnToSupportsTX.org.
Think identity theft won't happen to you? Think again. There's a new victim every 3 seconds in the U.S. Over 15 million this year alone. And many don't even know they're victims. LifeLock alerts you to identity threats you could miss, even when you monitor your credit. If your identity is stolen, your dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft, but everyone can save up to 25% off their first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
Research shows people remember ads with wacky sound effects. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual customizes and saves you hundreds on home insurance, here's something zany.
Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance. To reiterate, these sounds are just to help you remember how much you'll save. Oh, come on.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com. Savings may vary, underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates, excludes Massachusetts.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
It can happen so easily. A few drinks become a few too many. It's time to go, and you think of calling for a ride home. Nah, what's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you know that these days, generating growth is a challenge. By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
It can happen so easily. A few drinks become a few too many. It's time to go, and you think of calling for a ride home. Nah, what's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
With an open channel,
I guess just try to keep channels open.
we welcome open-minded individuals
I try to keep an open mind to all issues.
with open arms
I think we need to always have our eyes open.
for open conversation. And when you open the iHeartRadio app, you open a whole new world wherever you are.
What should America do about immigration crisis?
I guess open the borders, but at the same time, check everyone that's coming in.
Open the gates.
A free download in the App Store or at ktsmradio.com. Whether in traffic info, you need it, we have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, and a lot of conversation about previous callers there. I think best encapsulated by Bernadette Bandicole, referring to the distastefulness of the nanny boo-boo type. Let me just say here that, conversation and wanting to talk about things. Look, if you're just here to slap people around or say that, hey, you stink, we're never going to get rid of all ad hominems as much as I'd love to and have just, classified and dignified discussion about all issues, but well, there's also the fact that American politics has pretty much always been kind of a bare-knuckle brawl in the rhetorical sense, and, okay, it has occasionally come to blows, not exactly in favor of that part either, but let's just say that anyone thinking that politics is particularly dirty these days really needs to look up some, search Tammany Hall. I'm just going to say that, not at all local, but I will say this, that talking about the issues, if you're resorting only to the ad hominems and the, hey, you stink kind of mentality, it kind of abdicates the point. I'll just put it that way. But we do have more things we're talking about. And again, we do have those phone lines open if you're at all confused, or if you're just joining us. We are taking those phone calls about the issues right now. If you were joining us a little bit earlier and we're all confused, we did have the giveaway we gave through our phone lines in the first hour of the program. Don't worry, we'll absolutely be doing more of it later on, and at least once a month, maybe a little bit more depending on the response here. So congrats again to our winner of this month's giveaway for Hammer and Nails, men grooming for guys, specifically David winning that. So going to be giving him the opportunity to get some of the services over there at Hammer and Nails, which I do get the hair and beard cut. The Lux treatment is what I'm looking forward to next time. So if you want to find out about those, we will be talking about the next time that comes up on our social media, hint, hint. But also, of course, we have a lot more going on our phone line. So if you want to call in and chime in about the issues we're talking about here today, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM, and be okay. I take criticism in equal measure, like a Louis Bonato saying, quoting him, you dignify Raul's comments by taking his calls. Shame on you. Just the letter U there. Listen, if you don't like what the guy is having to say, you can certainly comment back on them, but by saying you shouldn't even take them at all, there you need to take a step back, particularly since I do believe you're very much on the record of saying, I shouldn't talk as much and I should take the calls. So which is it, my dude? Should I talk or should I take the calls? In any case, point is that actually talking about the issues, responding to people. I mean, this show has been founded on the idea of wanting to talk about the issues going on here in our local area because no one else is going to do that. If that means only taking the calls you like, we're going to fall short of that mark because there's a lot of different opinions out there. So, hey, you want to assign shame where it is? Good luck with that. I'll see you on the other side of the globe with that issue. In any case, let's go ahead and get to that next phone line there. Well, one more comment coming in. A Bernadette Bandicole noting that Irene Armendariz Jackson initiating a recall of City Rep Cassandra Hernandez. I'm aware of that one as well. So that'll then be going through the petition stage. So any details we get on that will be coming in, but have become aware of that, particularly over the weekend, some rumblings of it. So have been aware of some of the organization actually going through it. But let's go back to those phone lines now. Again, that number and phone lines open 915-544-5876-544 KTSM. You have Frankie and Messia on the line with us here right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
Well, let me tell you something. I had to break down and buy another phone because the other one just went kaput. And when I went over there to the phone store, I said, give me the phone. I like to make phone calls to KTSM, and I need a phone that's guaranteed to never, ever fail. Call it KTSM, and they gave me one. It cost me an extra $50, though. So how's it working so far?
Sounds good on this end. So what's on your mind?
Okay, so I know you like to talk about local issues. Now, I don't know if Houston's kind of local, but that's Texas. But anyway, I heard some guy, an Army Ranger, retired, is taking over Houston Independent School District and going to impart his thought process or some kind of universal thought process from the Texas duck jobs on how they want to instruct students. Did you hear about that?
Have been aware of that. It's been one of the bigger issues going on in the rest of the state. And we certainly do talk about some statewide issues. And of course, it does, among other things, harken back to stuff that previously happened in our area. I mean, here in the El Paso area, we did previously have a state takeover board of managers in this case. But there being a new superintendent in place there is interesting. Again, specifically for the Houston ISD.
Well, I'm just saying, again, this is the closest I could get to, local, because that's what I saw. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, what is this thing? You got some guy that's an Army Ranger. What's his qualifications as an educator? Number one. No, and then also, if he starts that at Houston, you know how it creeps. We nobody complained about it too much, so let's try it in El Paso. Next thing you know, you got some person up there telling all you people out there in El Paso what kind of instructions your children should have. I think there's something wrong with that. What do you think?
I mean, if the part about, particularly statewide instruction on what can or cannot be said at a local level, that pretty much already exists. And there has been, of course, some politicization that's been going on, I would feel increasingly, but even before recent years, over the years, of some of the, major statewide education institutions, particularly the elected boards of such, in setting of standards. I think there's been a little bit more controversy recently about certain things over in Florida, not trying to drag that into this particular point here. But I will say that one particular difference in between what has, again, previously happened in El Paso and this is that, there was leadership change and there were things that were being installed as it, but to my understanding of the state level efforts of just placing in a new superintendent was a different one. And I will say that he was previously, as noted by other statewide reporting outlets here, that he was previously a superintendent of the Dallas School District. Though I want to say what I'm looking at here, this one note from NBC DFW, NBC5, Dallas Fort Worth, that he was a previous superintendent there, makes it a little interesting that he was brought in here. But being installed by the state agency, obviously, to serve some of those things. And I will say it wasn't necessarily with this, just like hey, we're taking you over because we can. There was certain metrics, particularly standardized test scores, that were being noted as being the serious issue within the Houston ISD, leading to this consideration of this action.
Well, I tell you, I don't. Like I said, I'm in New Mexico. There's not much going on here, so that's why I like to comment about things going on, and because there's more things happening in Texas than here in downtown Mesilla. But our Las Cruces school system here, which incorporates Mesilla, we still stick with the old reading, writing, arithmetic, how to instill logic, education, thought process to our students. None of this hokey-pokey, stupid nonsense about, I don't know what the heck's going on out there. but just go to school, learn how to learn how to read, learn how to become smart. And I don't understand what's going on with Texas. That's my point.
I mean, and education as, the setting of the standard for the next generation. I mean, they've had a little bit of their own things going on, like earlier this year, naming of a new superintendent. And so there's been a little bit going on in that range. We haven't focused on it as much, mostly in that there was, I want to say the most recent thing we talked about with them outside of that was the fact that due to the teacher shortage, they actually had a couple of, National Guard, I do believe, members that were having to be in the classroom providing those type of services. So New Mexico isn't without its own issues, though. I will say in terms of dealing with it, more direct action, some things certainly coming from Texas. And yeah, we're pretty much on the cusp of the Texas Attorney General impeachment trial in the Senate chambers of the Texas legislature, which is probably the reason why we haven't had that next Texas state legislative session, which is probably going to be about dealing with schools, school choice, school funding, and probably we'll see what the governor actually calls for. The ball is entirely in his court that way. And so I'll say that perhaps it's arguable that New Mexico as a whole has been a little bit more, maybe not ahead of that curve, but addressing it, even if in very different ways than Texas has been looking at when there was some of those changes to the formulas for, again, the basic teacher compensation or the levels as it is. So that has been going on in New Mexico to try to address, quality of education and primarily teacher shortage as well.
Well, no, I hear you on that, but something just kind of totally blows my mind. You're getting National Guard people as substitute teachers or teachers, not even substitute. Well, okay, maybe they're qualified to. I don't know. I mean, do they have educational degrees, the teacher qualification certificates, or you just throwing in some National Guard guy comes in his uniform and his brogans and his M16, and he says, "Okay, people, pay attention." I mean, what kind of nonsense is this?
I don't think exactly the latter you're talking about there. In fact, one of the questions about if they're going to be in uniform and not, I do not believe they ended up being in it, but I'll have to double check. But more specifically, it was because there was not the availability of it. So it was, I believe they were given some training, but were not necessarily, I don't believe that the requirement was for them in order to actually have it. Yeah, it was part of the Supporting Teachers and Families initiative to help fill in teacher vacancies due to COVID-19 from the reporting from our news partners at KFOX 14. They did report in uniform. I'll say it that way. So while they were in the trying to onboard qualified candidates, that's one of the things that they had to end up doing. So there were volunteers from it. So they were in uniform while on duty at the schools by the decision of the school district. So they did get substitute teaching licenses and initial training, but not necessarily because of any previous qualifications that they had.
Well, all of it. My last comment. I don't get it. If I was in Texas and I was a parent and I had kids, I would not be happy, warm, and fuzzy about this whole educational direction that you guys are going. It's just blowing my mind. That's not the way I would think that you want to send kids and sit in school and learn the reading, writing, arithmetic stuff and everything else under the sun. So that's my final comment.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Okay, Andrew, take care.
And with that, we'll take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, getting on to the calls we can on the line there. So if you're wanting to, again, add your 2 cents, and one response will say, Ion Grimm saying that Frankie, independent school districts are taken over when they fail to meet mandated standards such as percentage of students passing, performing at grade level, and attendance. So, I mean, it wasn't, again, just out of the blue. There were metrics that were being shown to, even if, again, still a lot of questions that I still frankly have about what is the direction even to take with public schools in Texas. But let's take that next break right now and get back to the phone lines here. So, again, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
With your KFOX 14 news update, I'm Liz Dewicki. A man was arrested and charged in connection to the arson at the Scottish Rite Temple in downtown El Paso last month. Authorities arrested Noah Ochoa on August 22nd. That building on Missouri Avenue was set on fire back on July 24th. El Paso police searching for two men who were seen in a surveillance video burglarizing the Housing Authority of El Paso business office in the Lower Valley. It happened Saturday when two men were recorded approaching the business office right off of Martin Luther King Apartments in Butternut Street. The men used a grabbing tool to steal money orders from an overnight deposit box. Anyone with information should call Crime Stoppers of El Paso. Finally, here, the University of Texas at El Paso will not increase tuition or mandatory fees for the next 2 academic years for 23-24 and 24-25, according to school officials. The announcement comes as the University of Texas System Board of Regents approved the plan to maintain the cost of attending college at their recent fall meeting. Fall 2024 classes began Monday, August 28th. That's your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Liz Dewicki.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
All lanes are back open on Gateway West after a semi was blocking multiple lanes. I-10 eastbound has 10-minute delays through downtown from Cotton over to Trowbridge. Southbound on Mesa Street from Desert Boulevard to the downtown exits is a 10-minute delay. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is forecaster Nasai Mancini. Well, folks, we're in for warm temperatures as we start our week. Also, some rain chances as we head on throughout tonight, Monday night. Come tomorrow for Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll see slight rain chances with some chances for some thunderstorms as well. Head on over to kfoxtv.com, though, for the latest forecast.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Right now, during Labor Day savings at Lowe's, get up to $1,500 off select major kitchen appliances. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 8/30. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for details.
Packing for your summer road trip? Leave the travel guide at home and bring the Autio app along for the ride. Autio brings any drive to life with fascinating stories about the places you go, all narrated by expert storytellers. Browse through Autio's more than 10,000 fascinating location-based tales to inspire your travel itinerary and discover unique destinations along the way. Wherever summer takes you, make your next drive an adventure with Autio, the perfect companion for your next road trip. Learn more at autio.com.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow! 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giant's cat and kitten food, too.
No one gets me. I can't take this. Where's home tonight? Hope Mom's okay.
Life can take a turn for anyone. So remember, there are always people, places, and activities for you to turn to. Learn more about mental health at turntosupportstx.org.
This report is sponsored by turntosupportstx.org.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day.
I don't watch television, so I get all my news from you.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in. However you may be doing so, a lot of ways to interact with the show. Rounding the bend towards the end of the program for today, but still got a chance to squeeze in on the line if you so choose to do so. 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot of comments coming in, particularly about the education situation. Ronaldo Rivera actually saying, thank you, Frankie. Good questions. We too would like to know who and what caused the changes in education. We need the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. Yeah, it's still a good standard, at the very least baseline. Grim also saying, though, when it comes to any of the school or ISD takeovers, saying it's not done without warning and established benchmarks. They're given help and several chances to improve. If they don't, then TEA comes in. And then Willie Jenkins with I'm going to try to get through this one with a straight face, declaring it mull over Monday and saying specifically, and I quote, pure unadulterated foolishness with utter nonsense laced with nebulosity and squared in lunacy with a dash of acidity on parade squared in fermented excrement. Okay, I'm not quite sure that's just mulling it over, but hey, if that's how you think about mulling over, remind me not to drink the wine. Anyway, back to those phone lines right now. We do have Mike in Las Cruces on the line with us here right now. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Andrew. Hey, I just want to make a comment about the gentleman that called in from Mesilla.
Sure.
If he thinks the Texas school system is kind of screwed up, I would like for him to comment or answer why is it that the New Mexico schools, and this includes Las Cruces, are ranked 49th and 50th in the nation for educational value. It doesn't make sense to me that be complaining about Texas when we have a lot of our own stuff to worry about here in New Mexico.
I mean, fair enough. Again, we haven't focused as much on it as there hasn't been initially. In terms of like the aggregate, there's been a bit more than the individual situations, but I mean that has been one of the focuses on even just retention, that again the different approaches to it on either side of the state line is very interesting. But I mean those are some of the things decidedly needing to be addressed, is quality and just the future that it comes along with it of the education.
Well, I have his comment on they need to be teaching reading, writing, arithmetic. That's valid to me. But I don't think that's what they're doing here. And that's why they have such a horrible rating in terms of educational value here. So if he feels like Texas has some problems, well, New Mexico has some real problems.
Fair enough.
That's my comment. Thank you for taking it.
Yeah, sure thing. Appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Uh-huh.
And with that, I think we got time for at least one more call on the line here. We do have Marco in Central on the line with us here right now. Marco, thanks for joining us.
How's it going, brother?
Doing all right
welcome, there. Good Monday, everybody.
Yeah, what's on your mind?
Well, look, Frankie, I'll excuse Frankie because Frankie is like the belligerent wrestling announcer that has had one too many cocktails. And so he's always interested. Like I always say, stop being metiche. Mind your own state over there. They need a lot of help, Frankie. And you do have good ideas.
Fair
the
enough.
other thing I want to comment on is Raul. And Raul is a man of many faces because he's a journalist. He's an economic expert. He's I'm pretty sure he would say he's a philanthropist, maybe even playboy. Who knows? He is a true Renaissance man. But with everything else in this world, let's step into reality here real quick. The problem with the U.S. economy, it's not the U.S. economy in itself. In itself, it's not bad. I'll actually agree with Raul. In some ways, it's not bad. The problem is inflation, the cost of gas because of Biden's war on fuel and his wanting to prove to everybody that the Extinction Rebellion actually has some valid points on trying to make you live an agrarian lifestyle. So here's the problem, Raul. When you make gas expensive, and I'm going to focus only on gas here because I want everybody to understand the problems of gas and fuel have not gone away. And if you think fuel's expensive now, I want everybody to remember what I'm telling you here. And this is something that I'm thinking of as I'm running for mayor. What can I do to mitigate the effects of when Brentwood ends? What's Brentwood? Brentwood is basically when America made a deal with Saudi Arabia and OPEC to basically trade oil for fuel for American dollars.
Sure.
And so the world had to trade in American dollars if they wanted to buy fuel. This was great for America. This allowed us to go to a fiat currency and basically back the currency with the force of the government, who has many, many, many nuclear weapons. And so now the countries other than America, who also have many nuclear weapons, have decided to say, you know what, we're going to form an economic bloc And since you like trashing Saudi Arabia so much, we're going to include them into this block, and then we're going to end Brentwood, which it's about to end. This is why they create. I want everybody to know BRICS. And many people say, oh, it's a stupid union of third world countries that it doesn't mean anything. Ha ha, look at us. We're the sophisticated world. Well, I hate to tell you, when that ends and you're forced to trade in BRICS dollars for fuel, where China is guaranteeing Saudi Arabia and the OPEC countries, they're not saying, hey, we're going to back it with the word of the U.S. government and also our nuclear weapons. No, China's saying, hey, you know what? We don't need to force you with nuclear weapons. We'll give you gold. You trade in our BRICS currency, and we will pay you in gold. That's the power of influence right there.
I'll say this, just on that part of getting pretty far afield from the local aspect of it here, that, I mean, sure, again, the whole gold backing is an interesting part of it, though I will be frankly floored and willing to eat these words if they are ever going to be willing to give you the gold they are saying is backing it. They say it's backing it, but I doubt they're going to be issuing, gold or silver certificates like the U.S. used to do back in the day. I'll be surprised at that. But as you mentioned there, you said about the local aspect and trying to deal with this as mayor. So when we're talking about such kind of huge national issues with it, what would be anything you think could be done to effectuate a change on that, particularly from the local standpoint?
Unfortunately, right now we're kind of stuck. I mean, this could come from Abbott, where we isolate our fuel production in Texas, and we force. I mean, in some ways, look, back then states had their own currency. I'm not saying we're there yet, but I'm saying this: at one point, and at what point do we stop taking the abuse of the federal government on because our state? Look, our state is no joke. We give the federal government billions and billions and billions of dollars a year, okay? Outside of California used to be the 5th largest economy in the world. Yeah, they were at one point, but now that everybody's living in encampments and your state's trash, Texas has been basically picking up a lot of the slack. And there's a lot of good workers in Texas, and so we're not suffering some of the detriments in Texas that is across the board nationally. So our employment rates are pretty good. They have to revise the employment rate just last month, where they said they made 300,000 jobs. Well, they rolled all that back. So how would I call Governor Abbott and be like, hey, you know what? We need to start to either limit the amount of outflowing oil and start restricting the amount of oil going to other states. Basically redouble our efforts to refuel the citizens of Texas and see where it takes us. Because other than that, I don't see why Texas should have to go down. This isn't a suicide pact, guys. Okay, we all the states got together and we gave validity to the federal government. Okay, we the people. Okay, we did. It's not the other way around. The federal government didn't exist and says, hey, we're going to break you guys up into these states. No, the states gave the government the validity, and it's not a suicide pact to drag us down while you're failing to be able to address the global financial process that's happening in the moment. This is why people were begging you, don't make the Swiss banking system a weapon. Because all you're going to do is drive other nations into nations that aren't necessarily our friends. And on the local aspect, maybe we can try to do something with Juarez. But who knows, brother? I mean, we're going into Cuckooville. I mean, I expect the next few months, because remember we talked a couple of months back about how diesel was about to run out? Well, that's right, looming around the horizon again. What are we going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot more DEF, I will say, around there here, but I mean, the local aspects, how to respond to such large issues can be daunting at the very least, but at least worth considering and discussing here. So appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Appreciate you. Love you all. Marco for mayor.
Appreciate that there again. And with that, we got to take that last break right now. So coming out of this break, tell you a little bit more about what we're working on for you and what we got coming up for you on the program. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690
All lanes are back open on Gateway West after Airway after a semi has finally been moved off to the right. I-10 eastbound at Kansas, watch for a stalled semi on the right shoulder. Stop and go on the I-10 eastbound all the way through downtown Cotton over to Viscount. It's a 7-minute delay. And 5-minute delays on the I-10 eastbound Trans Mountain down to Sunland Park. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Right now, during Labor Day savings at Lowe's, get up to $1,500 off select major kitchen appliances. Lowe's knows home improvement, valid through 8/30. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for details.
It can happen easily. A few drinks becomes a few too many. It's time to go and you think of calling for a ride home. Nah, what's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you know that these days, generating growth is a challenge. By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
It can happen easily. A few drinks becomes a few too many. It's time to go and you think of calling for a ride home. Nah, what's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Did you know that only 2 in 10 El Paso County students graduate with a bachelor's degree? By supporting Border Youth Athletic Association's mission of educational attainment, you will create a long-lasting impact in our students' lives. Your monthly donation enables 4th through 12th grade students access to after-school programs, providing a safe and healthy environment. BYAA engages and empowers El Paso's future through mentorship and leadership development. We believe every player who gets an education wins. Do you? Go to borderyouth.org and show your support for our youth today.
Life's too short to just live in pain. Visit the Good Feet store today and see how we can help.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
You need to know what's going on.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Online and in-person classes for adults age 50 and up start on September 5th in the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at the University of Texas, El Paso. Registration runs through September 1st. Topics include art, history, literature, music, fitness, and more. Visit utep.edu/OLLI or call 915-747-6280. That's 915-747-6280.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Some of the things we're working on for you coming up this and in future weeks. A lot of in-depth interviews, of course, because that's part of what we do. Probably some of those local political situations. Try to have some audio for you on that from today's meeting, of course, for you tomorrow. But in the meantime, a lot of other interviews we're working on, including about the future of like cryptocurrency. I know there's been some questions about that, but as regulation looms, what does that mean for anyone even considering it, or for some of those potential futures, which, yes, could definitely have some impacts right here in the borderland region. Also, some other things about, well, what happens on the roads. I often mention at the end of the show, look twice for motorcycles out there. So what are some of the laws, among other things? And Ed Clore, we were just hearing thunder in our region here. Him asking anyone else getting rain pouring down in far west El Paso. So yeah, I think we just heard it over even some of the speakers of the break there. So be careful as you're out on the roads there or traveling around. But in case, we'll have to leave it there for today. Super out of time here for this show. I do want to thank everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. We'll do it again tomorrow as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. So until then, until next time, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow.